I'll keep milking your grief. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I mentioned in the earlier video about the conflict between Israel and Palestine, how Harry's wife is the ghoul that swoops in to make use of other people's tragedy and turn it to her advantage by demonstrating faux compassion, which is only being done to manage her facade, enable her to control people by way of them responding and thinking, oh, isn't she wonderful, isn't she kind, and of course drawing fuel from those same reactions. She continues to milk tragedy for her own purposes. There are two continuing examples of this. I referenced in the Israel-Palestine video the nature of what she had put out through Archwell and with Harry by way of a statement, and how that contrasted with what had been issued by King Charles and the Prince and Princess of Wales. Not content with ensuring that a statement of that nature has been issued, it of course then has to be PR puff-pieced around the world, and for instance has been picked up by Town and Country, where the article states, Prince Harry and Harry's wife's Archwell Foundation is supporting organisations on the front lines in Israel. Notice nothing about how this terrible tragedy has been unfolding, nothing about the awful loss on either side, but the immediate important thing is to demonstrate that their foundation is out there supporting organisations on the front lines in Israel. Now, of course, the fact that the foundation is providing support to those that have been affected can only be regarded as a good thing. But why not just get on with it without having to herald it? I regularly bring up the example of George Michael, an empathic individual who did much for charity by way of donation of his own monies and actually getting out there and lending a hand, for instance, working in a food kitchen. He did all of this, and it didn't come out until after he died. Why? Because he wasn't interested in people knowing that he was doing it. It was simple satisfaction for him that he was engaged in such activity. Indeed, where he was spotted helping out, he asked that it not be mentioned because he didn't want people knowing about it. This wasn't false humility on his part, but simply the fact that he wanted to be able to engage in it because his own emotional empathy compelled him to do so, and he didn't need praise or recognition for it. With Harry's wife, her narcissism tells her, be kind, be compassionate, be empathic, but make sure everybody knows about it. It's akin, as I've pointed out before, to these individuals that go into a supermarket and offer to pay for somebody shopping, perhaps somebody who looks a little less well off, or somebody elderly who might be struggling with the cost of living, but they have to ensure that they film it so they can get the likes, so they can stick it on social media, and therefore it isn't a genuine act of assistance, but it's purely motivated for personal gain. Harry's wife is exactly the same. Everything that she does is about ensuring that she gains control, drawing fuel, and managing that facade, getting those residual benefits and character traits. It's what she does over and over again, although she doesn't realise. And here she is again, hijacking the fact of a terrible tragedy in the Middle East to ensure that it's heralded from the rooftops that her organisation is supporting organisations on the front lines in Israel. She could just ensure that they get on with it and perhaps make mention of it on their website, but not need for it to be publicised. The article explains Prince Harry and Harry's wife have joined other prominent figures, world leaders and members of the British royal family in weighing in on the terrorism and unfolding crisis in Israel. It then, of course, makes mention of the statement and their partnering, which I've mentioned previously. The statement was released in the evening. The same day, both Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace released messages on behalf of King Charles and the Prince and Princess of Wales, demonstrating that it was a reaction on the part of Harry's wife through Archwell. Thus, she milks the tragedy that has unfolded in the Middle East, and she did so again in relation to the World Mental Health, because not only did we have the Harry's wife expensive straitjacket tube of toothpaste show, but she has to ensure that behind the scenes unseen activity becomes seen, this time courtesy of another supine publication, which is People, which reports Harry's wife and Prince Harry share behind-the-scenes photo of Archewell Foundation's first in-person event. Yes, an event at which grieving parents talked about their experiences, although we don't actually get told what those experiences are, because it was all about what Harry's wife had to say with a little bit from Harry. No, instead, it's now, we're going to continue to milk your grief by revealing some behind-the-scenes photos, and we're going to talk about me again, as we milk. The article by Janine Henney tells us Harry's wife and Prince Harry are sharing a behind-the-scenes glimpse of their visit to New York City on World Mental Health Day. On Wednesday, the Archewell Foundation posted a photo of an unseen moment, no longer unseen of course, from the Archewell Foundation Parents Summit, Mental Wellness in the Digital Age. The shot showed the Duke and Duchess of Sussex sitting between Carson Daly and the US Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy in a circle, which included a group of parents who participated in the emotional panel discussions that day. Harry's wife, 42, and Harry, 39, have been working with the parents involved in the event behind the scenes over the past year. Now, there seems to be some controversy as to whether that is actually accurate. I should not imagine that Harry's wife has actually been getting her hands dirty and rolling her sleeves up, and more likely, if Archewell have been involved in the last year, it's been as a consequence of their staff doing things with the parents, not Harry's wife. After all, she's intrinsically lazy and just likes taking the credit rather than actually getting on and doing something. But there's also been a suggestion that in actual fact, WME got them this gig, piggybacking on what was already being done in relation to World Mental Health Day just a few days beforehand, and that in actual fact no work had been done behind the scenes. Make of that what you will. A statement talks about what the foundation did and then explains, during an intimate conversation, these parents discussed how they are using their stories to inspire actions and raise awareness of the dangers to young people's mental health. The parents, whom the Archewell Foundation has engaged with over the past year, highlighted the strength and community they have found through a shared passion for creating meaningful change to prevent more families from this tragedy. It continued. Accordingly, once again, the tragedy and grief that's experienced by these parents is splashed all over, not in terms of actually telling us what happened and what could be done about it, but simply showing, look, there was a summit, and here's Harry talking, and here's Harry's wife's talking, and Archewell were involved, did you know? And Archewell were involved, did you know? And by the way, Archewell were involved, did you know that? And now, after the summit, here's an unseen photograph, so we can keep talking about it and bringing up the recent past in order to continue to milk the grief of other people. This is what Harry's wife does. Milking the grief of those in the Middle East, milking the grief of those parents. Why? Because she simply does not care. As a narcissist, it must be all about what it provides to her, and she has no concern, although she thinks she has, about the impact that it has upon all of those people whose grief she is commandeering for her own purposes. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.